All right, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to go over a whiteboard video that's going to show you how to actually communicate with your athletes. Let's get into it. All right, so this one here is for my coaches. Now, if you are looking to level up your game, get more of my methods, more of my protocols, my systems of training, you want to check out my mentorship program. Link is down below. You can go ahead and sign up for a free course that's going to go over all the methodologies on how to actually program. So if you're interested in that, make sure you hit the link down below to find out more details. Now we're going to talk about how you can actually communicate to your athletes and to the clients that you have to help with buy-in, to help with trust, and to increase the performance going forward because you have the ultimate trust in those athletes and clients that you're working with. Now, the one thing that I always like to follow is a phased out approach. So phase one is gonna be obviously the intro. Now, when I get a client or an athlete that comes into the gym, I wanna sit them down and actually wanna talk to them because I wanna find out who they actually are. So you're gonna get a level of communication going right off the bat. And you're gonna make sure that you're asking a lot of questions. Now, you wanna ask questions that are relative to what they're going through. You want to ask questions that are going to help you as a coach or as a leader to help them or guide them into their goals, right? You want to communicate a clear overview and the target that you want to hit and also what you're going to provide to them, all right? You want to evaluate body language and responses to if they are kind of, secluded and drawn back and closed in. If their arms are folded or they're looking down or not looking at you, or they're giving you one answer responses or one word responses, that's usually an indication that they aren't feeling the vibe. So you got to make sure that you open up a little bit more, get them to give you more information, right? Show them that you actually care, look them in the eyes, and just try to be approachable. Again, you want to keep eye contact and be positive and optimistic on what you're going to be providing to them, right? So we want to make sure that they know that those goals are going to get accomplished as long as they stay the course, and you're going to be well able to get that done for them. All right. So then we go into phase two, and that's overall trust building. And that's going to come over time, obviously, but you want to be a consistent evaluator. So we're going to evaluate the situation each and every time they walk into the gym or walk into the training ground. We want to make sure that we're finding out details on them each and every day. You want to ask questions, like I said, and you want to make sure that you can relay over information that is going to give them the best opportunity to be successful. I always say you want to teach them how to fish and not just give them the fish, right? So that's a very old saying, but it's very true. So I like to educate my athletes and my clients so that we're giving them ultimate value so they actually know what they're actually getting into and doing that is going to be beneficial for them and what they want to accomplish. You want to improve on your skill set and provide value. So when I'm learning new things, when I'm constantly trying to better myself, it's going to help your clients out tremendously. And this is why I like to always say you should always go for continuing education, whether it be certifications, whether it be mentorships, things like that, courses that you can take to allow yourself to increase in value, right? Reading books, listening to podcasts, so on and so forth, watching this video here. As long as you increase your value over time, you're gonna allow that athlete or client to buy into the situation because they know that you're actually trying to get better to get them better, all right? You wanna be honest and transparent, all right? Don't be a yes man or woman. You wanna give them the real. You wanna also be encouraging, but you don't want to kiss ass. Make sure that you are assertive. You tell them what they need to know, and also you be real with them, right? So again, you always wanna make sure that you're being transparent, very consistent with your transparency, and allow them to understand what the true process is gonna be. All right, so when it comes down to communication, I always love the concept of reframing. And reframing pretty much is a technique used in therapy to help with communication with individuals to understand the situation. So examples of reframing, like if I were to do a med ball throw or rotational med ball throw, and I'm working with a fighter, I'm gonna tell them to throw that med ball and turn their hip over like they're throwing their cross or their hook or their jab or something like that, that can reframe into what they actually know and what they are good at or what skill set they have already. All right, same thing with a kettlebell swing, like with another athlete, whether it be a grappler or somebody like that, because those are mainly the people that I work with. The kettlebell swing, we want to get extension of the hips. So we're actually going to tell them to extend their hips like they're stopping a takedown, right? So those are little reframing techniques that I like to utilize for all the athletes that come into me that, again, they may not have time or have spent time in the weight room. They really don't know the movements from that perspective, but they understand from a skills perspective or a sport specific perspective on how to actually implement it in the weight room, all right? Now, with those athletes, there's several different personalities. Now, I'm gonna go over a few that I actually see on a constant basis, and I got this one from Conscious Coaching, Brett Bartholomew. He has a great book out there on the archetypes of athletes. So I took a couple that I've seen that I know that I've came across in the past decade of my training. And so the archetypes are the athlete identification or the personalities. Again, we want to make sure that we know the athlete first and foremost. So that comes down to the communication that you're going to have with them, right? Getting an interview process going with the initial consultation, so I can see exactly how I need to communicate with them and what I need to do to help coach them along and get the best performance out of them. So there's a couple here. So we have one, the technician. Now the technician is a perfectionist. He's very detail orientated. He or she is very analytical, right? They want to be precise. They want to know exactly what they're doing and they want to do it correctly every time. So when it comes down to training, you have to make sure that you're giving them the full-on layout of what's going down and how they're going to go ahead and implement that into their game. The next one is the soldier, right? It's usually the hardest worker in the room. They're the leader. Those are guys and girls that like to work with groups and like to lead the group and lead by example. So the soldier, very easily coached, right? We can coach them along. They're gonna put in the effort. They're gonna be the first ones there and the last ones to leave, all right? The next one is the specialist. That's the one that just wants to do their sport. And we get a ton of that, especially with combat sport athletes. You get the jiu-jitsu guy or the MMA fighter that just wants to fight, right? That just wants to train their sport, but they know they need to do some strength and conditioning in order for them to get better. So with that, reframing is gonna be a big thing for them. And the next one is gonna be the Wolverine. Now, that is a person that you actually need to develop more trust and likability. They gotta be able to trust in you and actually look upon you for advice, you know? So a lot of times they're secluded, they're kept to themselves. And this is where you gotta break that seal, right? We gotta make sure that we're constantly communicating with them. We're getting to know them on another level and showing them that we actually care. And that's gonna give you a little bit more better understanding on how to coach them, for one, and also it's gonna allow them to let down their guard a little bit and allow you to coach them effectively. Okay, now the ways of persuasion. Now there's two ways of persuasion. That's the central and the peripheral. Now I'll go over the two. So central definition, the athlete is persuaded by full content of the message, right? They're very analytical, right brain dominant thinker. This is the technician or the specialist or sport specific specialist. Now, peripheral definition, this is peripheral persuasion. The athlete is persuaded by more than just the message, and this is where you're gonna have to reframe them more. You know, they like to think in the terms of what they're going to do inside of their sport. So, you know, making sure that you bring together something from a general perspective that can correlate or have high transferability into the sport itself is going to be good to persuade that athlete into doing what you need to do with them inside the weight room. So think about this, very, very simple. Central path is the thinker, right? The peripheral path is more of those cues, right? You want to use humor, fear, external delivery, some type of driver that they have, right? What's their why? When you find that out, then you can also persuade them from a peripheral standpoint. So the last thing that I'm gonna say is with coaching, with teaching, with training, with leading, you have to be a better leader in general, right? So coaches must be leaders, and the way you're gonna achieve that is through leadership excellence. And the reason why I say this, I usually do a web design here, but basically when you're looking at leadership qualities, you want to be a visionary. You want to showcase what you want to achieve and how you're going to achieve it, and you don't stop until you get there, right? So you have to be a visionary. You have to see things what other people don't see, right? You have to set the tone, right? You have to create the environment that's going to elevate your athlete's game, right? You want to create that positive environment, that level of excitement and intensity to allow them to get the goals accomplished that they need to. Self-management. If you can't manage yourself, very highly unlikely you can manage somebody else. So you got to make sure that you clean up your own room first and foremost before you go ahead and try to tell somebody else how to do it. You want to be able to make decisions on the fly, make decisions in general. I can't tell you how many times that I've had to auto-regulate on the fly, call an audible when an athlete came to me one day and we had what was written down, what we needed to do, and then he came in with an injury or bumps and bruises or feeling down or feeling fatigued, and I had to change up the entire program based upon that particular situation. So again, you gotta be a quick decision maker. You wanna take calculated risk, right? So nobody likes to be super careful, right? We wanna make sure that we're taking that calculated risk to get the highest reward. At the end of the day, you gotta be a little bit, on the edge of being excited, wanting to do more, wanting to achieve more. And with that, you gotta take some risk. So again, put yourself out there, make sure that it's calculated, you have the understanding, you have a system in place, and you have the tactics that can go about when you're trying to hit that goal. So again, be calculated in your risk taking, but be a risk taker. You want to be innovative, right? You want to try new things, right? You want to invent or create new things that are based upon scientific proof and also experience that's going to help elevate your game and elevate your athlete's game. So being innovative could be anything from an exercise or a protocol or some type of methodology that you came up with that is going to enhance the quality of your athletes or the groups that you're training. Next thing is one of the most important things, and what I can't do as a business owner, as a coach, as a father, and as a husband, is I have to be a great communicator. So I have to be able to communicate with everyone around me so that everybody knows what they need to do and when they need to do it, right? If I'm staying to myself and I'm holding things in, nobody knows what's going on, there's gonna be chaos. So you need to make sure that you're communicating properly. And lastly, if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail, right? I like to quote my mentor, Louis Simmons: if you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. You need to have a plan, right? You can have a skeleton approach where you have things set in place, but for the most part, there should be a plan of action, because when you have that plan, it's much easier to call those audibles and auto-regulate accordingly because you already had a system ready to go. So make sure your system's in place and be ready to auto-regulate, to make quick decisions at a moment's notice. Again, always have a plan. The plan of action succeeds if you keep it going over time, right? So there it is. If you want to find out more details, once again, you can check out my mentorship program and sign up right now for a free training class that's going to go over all of my programs and how to actually program for your athletes. Now, the link is down below, so don't miss it. All right, that's it. Hope you liked it. Hit the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so. Hit the like button so that'll help the algorithm and boost our content so we can keep making videos for you guys. Hit the notification if you are subscribed so you know when my videos come out. I'll see you again next time. Peace.